I've listened to Vampire Weekend by Vampire Weekend for a month.
And I listened to it once yesterday.
Welcome to Spin It. Hello, and welcome back to Spin It, the Record Ranking podcast for people who would rather be listening to music. I'm James, and with me is Connor.
Hello, people.
Yes, hello. And this week, oh man, I'm excited. The future is truly now. We're talking about Vampire Weekend.
Got my garlic.
Got your garlic?
Yeah.
Oh, then maybe we can't talk about Vampire Weekend. I don't know.
Well, we can. They just can't be here.
Oh, good. Well, they're not. Don't worry. So you're ready for a vampire-filled weekend. You're prepared. I've got my wooden stake. I've got my crucifix. I've got all the other vampire-proofing things. I'm not going to invite anybody into my room. I guess that's another reason they couldn't be here, is that we didn't invite them, right? So we're safe from Vampire Weekend.
It's true.
Do you know much about Vampire Weekend? Is it a name you recognize?
No.
Really? That's always fun. It's a name I had heard of. I didn't know too much of their music until I put them on the Albums of the Month list a long, long time ago. And then I heard about them again. I had a friend who wanted Vampire Weekend played at their wedding, which was really fun. And so I kind of got into them that way, little by little. And actually, here's a fun fact. Until this episode was imminent, I thought we would be doing a different album.
Really?
Yeah, really. I started my Vampire Weekend listening career with their second album, Contra. And I was like, wow, this is a fun album, and I want to do it on the podcast. And as we were gearing up towards the episode, I was like, I want to be more knowledgeable about Vampire Weekend. I want to be more prepared. And I want to listen to another one of their albums so I have some points of comparison. Because Contra is a bit of an eccentric album. And I was like, let me just dig into another one on the Albums of the Month list. You know, just see how it is. And I started listening, and I really liked it. I started looking up what other people thought about it, and they really liked it. Some of these songs got really, really popular. And I started taking my notes, and I got all the way up to the first album, and I was like, this is where I have to make a decision. Do we do Contra, or do I pivot? And I decided to pivot to their debut.
He pivoted.
Yeah, this is almost a very different episode, but also a very similar episode. So we'll see. I think you have a much better chance at really clicking with Vampire Weekend than with Contra. It just seems to have a little bit more mass appeal. I specifically wanted to take Contra because it had some stuff that I knew you hadn't been a fan of in the past.
Yeah. I see.
So I thought maybe I'd ease you into it with their self-titled.
It sounds like you didn't, though. Like you were absolutely planning on throwing me in the deep end.
I was. Well, to be fair, the deep end was the only end I knew at the time that I planned it, so it was just the end for me. I never knew Shallower. I guess I should ask, you might not have any familiarity with Vampire Weekend, but do you have any familiarity with vampires in general?
Oh, quite extensively. Why do you think I have my garlic?
You're prepared. What do you mean quite extensively?
I've had a run in there, too.
Are you a vampire?
It's a little personal. VIPA and all that.
Like HIPAA, but for vampires? You're allowed to disclose your own medical details. Like, HIPAA doesn't stop you from talking about yourself.
No, it does. Trust me. I've got a really good lawyer. He said he disagrees.
So you might be a vampire. Have you ever seen yourself in a mirror?
I don't own a mirror.
Interesting. Suspicious.
If I was a vampire, would that be a problem?
Well, not inherently, no.
Now, what would make it a problem?
If you decided to, feast on my blood.
Well, what if you volunteered it?
Well, I wouldn't.
Well, that seems a little prejudiced of you. I mean, you would feed any other friend that would come over. Why wouldn't you feed a vampire friend?
Well, I think the dynamic is a little different.
If I were a vampire, hypothetically speaking,
yeah,
I could just hypnotize you into willingly giving over your blood. Hypothetically.
Totally hypothetically. Yeah.
But of course, I'm not a vampire.
Yeah, I'd feed you normal food if you came over for sure.
Wow, that is highly insulting. If I were a vampire,
so it's a good thing you're not, right?
What's your blood type?
I can't talk about it. HIPAA,
No, sorry, VIPA.
Well, I'm not bound by VIPA. I don't know about you. That does not apply to me. But I suppose we should start, as we would have with either album, by talking about Vampire Weekend. Vampire Weekend is currently, today, a 3-piece band, but they started out with 4 members, especially for this debut album. Those 4 members are Ezra Koenig for vocals, guitar, and piano. Chris Bio plays the bass, sings backing vocals, sometimes plays the piano. Chris Thompson plays the drums, sometimes guitar, sometimes backing vocals. And Rostam Batmanglij, their keyboardist, guitarist, vocalist, and percussionist, kind of a real jack of all trades, who was with the band up until 2016. That's the 4. That's the Weekend of Vampires. So the 4 of them started out as classmates at Columbia University in 2006. Turns out a few of them were into rap together, and they started a group called L'Homme Run, which is fantastic. French, like the man, like L'Homme. Anyway, it's a great band name, great rap group name. They also, collectively, amongst the 4 of them, liked a lot of less mainstream music. Particularly, Thompson and Koenig were really interested in punk music and African music, international, world music, like really not the stuff that most people walking around America are listening to all the time. Koenig even actually got the chance to tour with the indie rock band Dirty Projectors, which is another group that's been on my radar for years, and I haven't listened to an album yet. One of these days. But he went on tour with Dirty Projectors, and his tour with them really gave him the chance to immerse himself even deeper in the world of world music, in the world of world. Meanwhile, Ezra Koenig's also studying film. One summer, he watched the 1987 movie called The Lost Boys. Is that one you've seen, movie guy?
I have extensive history with the Lost Boys.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm taking that one with a grain of salt.
Talking about the one with Kiefer Sutherland?
Yeah.
Sure is. Yeah, I've seen this.
I have not seen it.
You have experience with the Lost Boys from Peter Pan.
That's true. Extensive. Well, regardless of either of our experiences with the Lost Boys movie, Ezra Koenig has extensive experience with the Lost Boys movie. He loved it. Loved it so much that he wanted to create his own movie based on it. Now, the Lost Boys, as you may have guessed, is a vampire movie. So Koenig dreams up his own movie where a man named Walcott, wink wink, has to warn the mayor in Cape Cod, also wink wink, the vampires are about to attack. Ultimately, he panned the project after a couple days of hard work, as a lot of creative projects tend to do. But clearly, the lingering ideas that he had stuck around, and a few conceptually made their way into this record, at least as track titles, and even more importantly, they made their way into the band's name, Vampire Weekend, taken from vampire movies and The Lost Boys. Vampire Weekend starts playing around Columbia's campus, other places in Manhattan during their senior year, and then they graduate, and they have to go get jobs, but they don't want jobs. They want to make music. So in their free time, they got together and got to work making and self-producing their debut record. Chris Thompson actually started working as a music archivist, and Ezra Koenig became a middle school English teacher. And the free time in between is what led to the creation of this very album, their self-titled 2008 debut, Vampire Weekend. You ready to talk about it? Not Vampire Weekend the band, Vampire Weekend the album, by Vampire Weekend the band.
Yeah, I think I've got time. I can pencil it in.
Oh, good. Have your people contact my people.
My people.
I'm
sorry. I like it when I say something that like makes you actually pause and recollect yourself.
Yeah, well, it came so like softly at the tail end, like I could barely hear it.
Oh.
But then it registered what you said, and yeah, I had to, okay. The first single to arrive from the record was Cape Cod, Kwassa, which came out in 2007. Immediately caught a lot of attention. Rolling Stone gave it pretty high praise and ranked it the 67th best song of the year, which, I mean, sounds like high praise, but also I think back to 2007, and yeah, that kind of makes sense. They also earned an opening slot for The Shins on their UK tour, who we talked about in episode 41. Deep cut spin cycle tie-in, I think. The tour with The Shins was the first of 3 tours that Vampire Weekend would take before the album even came out, which is wild. And because they were so busy with tours and jobs and school and real life stuff, they ended up recording their debut album pretty much everywhere. Apartments, basements, a barn, and yeah, a recording studio or two, but...
Or two.
Everywhere. Yeah. They used the barn for really echoey drums that they liked and they wanted to keep. It also was super helpful that, they've been writing these songs for years together. This album is the product of a lot of time together. So, according to Ezra Koenig, recording was mostly, quote, just a matter of tightening it up and remixing it a little, which probably tends to make things go faster. Also, as a self-created album, Batmanglij is credited as the album's lone producer. Like a lot of their interests and experience at the time, Vampire Weekend incorporates a lot of elements of contemporary chamber pop music, African pop, world music. Like a lot of the stuff that they were listening to and liking that was unique, they work into their own sound, which is similarly unique. Kind of a melting pot of all that. The album came out on January 29th, 2008 to pretty rave reviews. People have called Vampire Weekend one of the best debut albums of all time. We'll see at the end, I guess, final spin time, whether we agree with that. We've hit quite a few debuts so far on the podcast, and I wonder where this ranks among all the debut albums we've done for you. And for me, for that matter. I guess I've never evaluated it.
It's a good question.
I know. Either way, it definitely was critically praised. It got a Metacritic score of 82, with 5 stars from AllMusic, 4 from The Guardian, Q, and Spin, 8 and 8.8 out of 10 from NME and Pitchfork, 3.5-ish from Rolling Stone. Not too shabby for an unknown band of fresh out of college students coming from the East Coast. Time ranked it the 5th best album of 2008. Rolling Stone would go on to call it the 56th best album of the entire decade. And then in 2012, Rolling Stone went on to rank it at number 430 on their list of the greatest albums of all time, which is kind of absurd. Do you think the 55 other albums better than it in 2008 all made the list? Because I kind of doubt it.
I doubt it.
I know. Something tells me they got it wrong for some people one of those times. But yeah, the album's a smash. It sold 27,000 copies in its first week, which sent it straight to number 17 on the Billboard 200. It also charted internationally in 8 other countries, and within 2 years, Vampire Weekend would be up to 500,000 copies sold. Today, it's certified platinum in the US and the UK, and gold in Australia and Canada. The album also got a whopping 5 singles on 11 tracks. Almost half the album was single-ified. But those singles were Mansard Roof, A-Punk, Oxford Comma, Cape Cod Kwassa, and The Kids Don't Stand a Chance. A-Punk and Oxford Comma both charted. And I think a lot of the praise for the album has kind of come with hindsight. I think one of the reasons it's so well regarded nowadays is that it was really the first marker in a wave of indie albums that kind of are just like it. Vampire Weekend inspired a ton of artists and people that came after them and kind of helped kick off this entire indie pop subculture and subgenre. It's like a whole movement that really has its genesis in a lot of ways with this album and this band. Also helpful for the band and their fan base was that shortly after this album came out, they made TV appearances on Letterman and SNL. It doesn't get much bigger than that with a debut album, man. And also, you may have heard a lot of these songs in media. I always have to ask you because every time a song is anywhere, it seems like there's a good chance that you've heard it, right? Were any of these songs kind of familiar?
Yeah, the band's sound was familiar.
Okay, good. I'm glad you said yes, because if you said no, I'd have to tell you were wrong, or a liar, but I think just wrong.
How dare you?
Well, it's true. I know for a fact that you know some of these. Maybe not know, but have heard some of these, because Cape Cod Kwassa, Mansard Roof, Campus, A-Punk, and Oxford Comma have all appeared in trailers and movies and shows like Step Brothers, New Girl, Suits, which you cannot deny, Gossip Girl, How I Met Your Mother, which you cannot deny, and I Love You Man.
I will deny anything I want to deny.
Do you deny it?
I didn't say I wanted to.
No, I know. That's why I was asking.
Just don't put me in a box.
I'm not putting you in a box.
You said cannot deny. That is a box.
Well, I guess you can deny it, but not legitimately. You cannot honestly deny it.
My Veeple will be contacting your Veeple.
Yeah. Also, you might recognize some other Vampire Weekend tracks from Guitar Hero 5, Just Dance 2, and Lego Rock Band. Although I'm pretty sure, did you say you played Guitar Hero 5 or just one of the Guitar Heroes? I think Just Dance 2 is the one you talked about doing, though, right?
So I have Guitar Hero 3.
Okay, not 5. What was your Just Dance game then?
Whichever one has the Let's Go to the Mall song. From How I Met Your Mother, and the Moves Like Jagger song, and Rock Lobster.
What was the one that was the only one you could beat your sister at? Was it Rasputin?
Rasputin, yeah, that one's on there.
Uh-huh.
It was that one, and then there was the Istanbul, not Constantinople.
Right. Fantastic. Well, you may know it from those places. And then, like I mentioned at the beginning, I was really tempted to go for their second record, Contra. It came out in early 2010. Contra was also mega popular, and it even debuted at #1 on the Billboard chart. But like I said, I felt like it was just a little too avant-garde for you, a little too experimental for you just yet. And I don't know, just this Vampire Weekend album felt like it was a lot more palatable and digestible, but in a way that still has a lot of hallmarks of their sound that evolved on Contra. Contra was actually just the 12th independently distributed album to top the charts ever, and Vampire Weekend were the first totally independent artists to do so without ever having been signed to a major label, which is a fact that I would never have guessed. Contra was comparably successful, like Vampire Weekend, if not more so, even in the moment, although I think Vampire Weekend has had kind of more of a legacy built around it. Contra sent the band on many, many more tours and landed them an MTV Unplugged performance. It was also nominated for the Best Alternative Music Album Grammy, but it lost, in my opinion, very narrowly lost, to the album Brothers by the Black Keys. Their third record, Modern Vampires of the City, was one that they considered the last of a trilogy to kind of put a capstone on the early part of their career. They ventured into a lot more diverse instrumentation. They used organs and acoustic guitars and a lot of digital voice modulation, which they first did on Contra, and again, one thing I know that you don't always love, so I wanted to not give you that one. Modern Vampires of the City also debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, so take all those records that they set with Contra and double them. It also broke a lot of records for first week vinyl sales in 2010, which is wild. They sold more than 10,000 physical vinyl records. Honestly, probably helped kickstart this revival of vinyl record culture that we're kind of in the midst of. Even you have some records. Do you have a record player?
Yeah.
Or do you just have records?
No, I have a record player to play my records.
Okay.
I feel like you've asked me that before.
I don't know if I have. Maybe not on the podcast, but I've probably asked in real life. Every time you buy a record, because I forget.
I was like, why are you buying records? You don't have a record player. And I'm like, yes, I do.
So yeah, that's Modern Vampires of the City. That one actually did win the Best Alternative Music Album Grammy. They beat out a couple big names like Nine Inch Nails, The National, and Tame Impala. Then Vampire Weekend went on a little bit of a hiatus, which culminated with Rotsam Manglish leaving the group in 2016, but on good terms, on friendly terms. Their fourth album, Father of the Bride, believe it or not, was largely inspired by Casey Musgraves and Golden Hour that we talked about on episode 2, another Spin Cycle tie-in. It came out in the spring of 2019, ending a 6-year break for the band. They decided to include guest vocalists on the album for the very first time, which is exciting, and it kind of pushed their sound, obviously, even further away from what they'd been evolving into. And most recently, their fifth album, Only God Was Above Us, just came out on April 5th, 2024. I mean, so new that I really haven't even had the chance to listen to it yet. So that's cool. Once again, another timely episode for us.
Yeah.
As for awards and accolades, Vampire Weekend has earned 5 awards on 15 nominations over the course of their career, including 2 Grammys for Best Alternative Music Album on 5 Grammy nominations, a 2008 NME Award for Best New American Alternative / Indie Band, 2 Q Awards on 6 nominations. One of their wins, actually for a Q Award, was in 2013 for Best Act in the World Today, which I think is an absurd award to give out to anybody. I mean, no hate to Vampire Weekend, but how can you legitimately give someone a Best Act in the World Today award? Seems hyperbolic. But anyway, that's what I've got about Vampire Weekend, and also Contra, and Modern Vampires of the City, and Father of the Bride, and Only God Was Above Us. That's what I got. So now it's time for Mixtaper Weekday.
That's gross.
Well, yeah, it is, but I figured, it can't be a Mixtaper Weekend. The vampires already have the weekend, so he just has to get what's left.
It's true. Well, let's get him out here.
Let's do it. I'm excited for this, and I'm afraid. I feel like I'll talk to him about it, but I feel like this is a week where maybe he's found some facts about vampires, and I'm going to have to really sort that out. It's going to be snail mail all over again or something. I don't know.
Hey, it's me, the Mixtaper.
Hey, it's you. Welcome back to the podcast. How you doing?
Just hanging out with my meeple.
Mixtaper people?
Yeah, they're like normal people, but they're wearing a mask.
Okay. Ridiculous.
Nice little layering of jokes there.
And pat yourself on the back a little harder. So we're past episode 150. We're really getting to the end of the year here. How you feeling about that?
It's coming fast.
Yeah, it really is.
What's the overall score right now? Because we're trying to end 50-50 in the year of healing.
There are so many overall scores. I guess it depends on what you're talking about.
For the year score.
January 1st through December 31st?
No, like
you're
the
talking
year
about
of healing.
Podcast year. Right.
Yeah. Why would I care about anything else?
I'm just making sure. For the year of healing, the host team has 87. You have 78.
Well, that doesn't feel right. I feel like I've been kicking your butt here this year.
I know.
How are you so high up on me? I feel like I need the squirrels to get in here. Hang on.
I promise.
I guess I had a bad start to the year.
Well, it depends on what metrics you look at, because in terms of the calendar year, it's much closer, and we're dead tied.
So it sounds like, you're doing a really bad job of making us heal by going 50-50 with me.
By being up 9 points.
Yeah.
Well, we've still got a handful of episodes here. 5 more episodes to even that up, so I'm sure we'll get there.
Yeah, so you gotta lose 9 points, over me. I need a couple shutouts in there.
Maybe? We'll see how it goes. I mean, 1 week at a time. 1 vampire weekend at a time.
Going 3-1 gives me 2 on you. 2 times 5 is 10. Oh, I could do it if we went 3-1 on all the episodes.
Yeah.
Well, let's get going.
Okay.
Our first supposedly true fact.
Yes, supposedly.
The band performed the Parks and Rec theme song.
They performed the Parks and Rec theme song, like the one that you hear at the beginning of the show, every time you turn it on.
To be clear, that is the song that they perform, but it's not them that you hear when you turn on the show.
That's what I'm checking. That's exactly what I was asking. Good.
Your question was still left ambiguousness. That I was like, I don't know how to answer that.
Well, right. I tried to make it not ambiguous by saying the one you hear when you turn on the...
Yeah, well, it is that song.
They played the song, but it's not that recording that's in the show.
No.
Did they cover it then? I mean, was this a live performance somewhere?
It sure was.
Where's that?
As an interlude in the middle of one of their other songs.
Kind of stuck it in there.
Yep.
But like just on a concert tour, right? Not at one specific place or for a specific reason, just because they...
Well, yeah, I mean, it was kind of for a specific reason.
Okay, what's the reason?
Well, they were at the Farm Bureau Insurance Lawn at White River State Park in Indianapolis.
Okay. So they only did it one time then?
Yeah, well, that I'm aware of. And since they were in Indiana, they thought they'd pay tribute to one of the most iconic shows to ever be set in the state.
That's pretty true. When did this happen?
Like 2019.
Ooh, recent.
Or shortly after the release of the album Father of the Bride.
Okay.
While they were touring to support it.
I see.
Stuck it right in the middle of the song M79.
In the middle of the song, or to use it between 2 songs?
Nope, took a few seconds in the middle of the song and stuck it in there as an interlude.
Tough. Oh, that's hard. I'm not so sure they would include it on a set list in 2019. I mean, if I'm narrowing down Vampire Weekend songs, I mean, they're supporting a whole new album with a lot of new songs. There's a lot of songs on Contra they probably want to play. There's a lot of songs on this album that probably would make the cut ahead of M79. And just to listen to M79, I would imagine that you, or, well, Connor in particular, maybe was reminded of the Parks and Rec theme song because of the plucky way that it sounds and the stringed instrument style of it. So I could see this fact being born from that. But it's also possible that that's why they would do it and include M79 on the set list just to do this interlude, isn't it? So that's tricky. And M79, well, I mean, we'll get into it, but it's a song about public transportation, and Parks and Rec is all about city government work, and there could be some thematic parallels. Ultimately, though, I'm going to have to say this one's a spin.
A spin?
Yeah.
Wasn't convincing enough for you, huh?
I don't think it was. No, did have a lot of specific details.
You usually like those.
I do, but not this time. Don't put me in a box.
Fair enough.
I took that one from Connor.
Yeah, I hear enough of that.
Yeah, I bet. It seems to be one of his defense mechanisms.
Well, this one is a true fact.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I just thought it was cool.
It makes too much sense. You gotta admit, though, it feels like Connor would just listen to that song and be like, that sounds like the theme song to Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was very tricky. I'm honestly a little upset with Vampire Weekend for making that sound so fake.
The band performed on an interesting holiday.
Intentionally, or did they just play a show that happened to be on Vampire Day or whatever?
Intentionally.
Okay.
Well, they played I don't know if they would have not performed this if it hadn't been an interesting holiday, but it being an interesting holiday like added to why they did this performance.
Okay, that was a confusing way to say that. What was the holiday?
Ann Perkins Day.
What? Why are you doing all these facts about Parks and Rec?
Well, I'll be honest, this was a little tied to the last one.
Okay. So Ann Perkins Day.
Yeah.
Ann Perkins is a character in the TV show Parks and Rec, played by the daughter of Quincy Jones, Rashida Jones. You know Quincy Jones.
Never heard of him.
It's a lie, but not you too. Connor's the one that never remembers Quincy Jones.
Oh yeah, you're right. No, I know.
Man.
I know exactly who. I don't know. I know exactly who Quincy Jones is.
You have extensive.
I have extensive
with Quincy
experience
Jones.
with Quincy Jones.
Oh, good. So, what is Ann Perkins Day? When is that, and why is that? And I would say where is that, but I'm guessing Indiana.
It sure is in Indiana,
Oh, wow.
and it's on February 25th, which is Rashida Jones's birthday.
Okay. Well, okay, but then why is it Ann Perkins Day and not
Well, because that's
Rashida Jones Day?
because Rashida Jones isn't from Indiana.
That's true. We don't want to celebrate her. We want to celebrate her character.
Yeah, all the main characters actually have days in Indiana that are on the actors and actresses' birthdays.
Really? That's kind of awesome. I kind of love that. What day is Mark Brandanowitz Day? He probably doesn't have a day. He was only there for a few seasons.
He probably doesn't.
So, is that the day that they played the Parks and Rec theme song?
Uh-huh.
Ah.
Remember when you were like, oh, when did they do this? And I just gave you a very, very generic date of, oh, it was sometime in 2019.
Yes, 2019.
I didn't want to give you the exact date and then have to just bring, I wanted to save a little bit of juice for fact number 2.
Well, realistically, you could have just said February 25th, 2019, and I would have had, I promise you, zero clue that was Ann Perkins Day.
I listen, elevator boy. I don't know what,
Yeah, fair enough, I guess. Oh, it would have been really funny if I did call you on that, though. Did they do anything else special to commemorate the occasion?
Well, Rashida Jones was there.
She was there?
Well, yeah, it's her day.
Well, she doesn't have to, she doesn't have to be there. It's her birthday. It's her actual birthday.
Yeah.
She could be going anywhere and celebrating anything she wants. And she goes to Indiana?
She spent it in Indiana at a Vampire Weekend performance with her boyfriend.
Wow. This is somehow even harder to believe than the first one. I think this is a spin. And I think it's a spin because the first one was true.
I'm not done.
Oh, you're not done.
Yeah, not that really can do much if you're already thinking spin, but
Well, that's just where I'm at right now.
let me get the rest of my details.
Just giving you an update.
As I said, she was in Indiana at the Vampire Weekend's performance with her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Ask another question.
Oh, okay. I'm not done, but I'm not going to say anything else. Is this true?
She was in Indiana at a Vampire Weekend performance with her boyfriend. Ask another question.
Yeah, right. You said that already.
Ask a question.
I asked another question.
Ask a question based on the.
I want you to tell me if this is true.
Well, of course it is. But ask another question about what I just said.
Okay, she was in Indiana for a Vampire Weekend concert with her boyfriend. Does she like Vampire Weekend?
Yeah, I'd say so. She listens to them a lot.
That's cool. Did she have a good time?
Yeah, she always has a good time at their concerts.
Oh, she goes to a lot of them. That's cool.
Well, yeah, with her boyfriend.
Oh, well, that makes sense. He must be a big fan, too.
Nope.
No? Wow.
Well, probably. I guess he's probably a fan. Kind of have to be.
Okay. It doesn't have to be.
He's a fan in the same way that, like, I'm a fan of this podcast.
I'm deliberately dancing around it, just to be clear.
I know you are!
Do the members of Vampire Weekend have any significant others?
Yeah. A couple. I'm sure a couple of them do. At least I know one of them does.
Really? That's fun. Does their significant other like Vampire Weekend?
Oh, yeah. Big fan. They even go to their concerts in Indiana.
Wow. Does one of the members of Vampire Weekend perhaps have a significant other with a holiday named after a character that they portrayed on a popular TV show set in the state of Indiana?
I'll do you one better. Not only does their significant other have all that, they're also the daughter of Quincy Jones.
No way. What are the odds? Seems pretty unlikely.
Well, all right then. I refuse to say it without you asking the question.
Okay, who is it?
So, it's Ezra Koenig.
It's okay.
Ezra
wow.
Koenig is the longtime significant other of Rashida Jones.
You know, I never would have guessed.
Which is why I was like, they maybe would. It probably wouldn't have mattered if they did the performance, if it wasn't I think they probably would have done the performance regardless of if it was her holiday. But like it being her holiday probably was like, oh, I gotta do the Parks and Rec theme song.
Yeah.
Now you may submit your answer. I will allow you.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to submit my answer at the present moment. I would like to actually change my answer to fact.
Oh, really? That did it for you?
I think so. Yeah, I feel like I actually knew about the Rashida Jones thing, and it did not even occur to me because it's not one of those things I consciously know, but when you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, elevators.
Kind of like that. If you asked me about elevator brands, I don't know if I would have come up with Otis, but since you said Otis, well, it all clicked. And I think this is actually true. I think this may really be a fact. I mean, to just put her there before I remembered that she had any connection to the band is a little ridiculous. She could spend her birthday anywhere. But yeah, okay, that makes it a little more plausible.
It is indeed plausible because it is indeed a spin.
No!
And I make plausible spins.
I should have stuck to my guns.
You should have. I can't believe I got you to change your answer.
I can't either.
You almost always, when you change your answer, change it in the way I don't want you to change it.
I know. Wow. Devastating.
You know how devastated you're about to be? I made up the fact that all the characters have holidays on their birthdays.
That is sad, but I also figured that maybe would be true because it'd be a little ridiculous.
It's cool, though. Cool idea. They should do that.
It would be cool.
Indiana, you can have that one. State of Indiana, if you're listening, it's all yours.
Well, I mean, the show's a little done for a while now.
Since 2015, only like 9 years.
Only 9 years out of production, but not too late to give them holidays. They really were dating, though. That was true, and I'm not losing my mind.
Yeah, that's real.
Okay.
Yeah. They've been dating for like 6 years. They have a kid together. It's a whole thing.
I did panic when you said you have no idea how devastated you're about to be, and I thought you were just about to tell me that they never dated and never had, and I just made that up in my brain. That would have been devastating, but at least I was right. I'll take some solace, some comfort in that. Well, you're off to a good start if you want to go 3-1. I mean, the odds of that happening now are pretty high.
It's true.
Actually, the odds of a 3-1 happening at this particular moment are 50-50.
Yeah. Which is also what?
Well, no, 33, 33, 33. Never mind.
What?
Well, from this point on...
Right, so there's only 2 left.
The possible results of Factor Spin are...
Oh, you're right. No, you're right.
50-50.
Well, yeah, because there's 2 different ways I can go. You're right.
I get both, you get both, or we split it.
Yeah, it's true. So 33% chance. Or actually, it's a 66% chance, right? Because the only way...
It's
25% chance? There's 4 different outcomes right now. Either...
Well, no, but...
Oh, there's so many possibilities. Because it could go me, it can go you, it can go me, you, or it can go you, me.
Right, but...
So that's 4 possibilities.
But in 2 of those scenarios, you go 3-1.
Yes.
So it's still 50-50.
It is, yeah,
that you go 3-1.
Yeah, there's a 50% chance.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was right at first, and then we had to do the whole loop to end up back.
This is why we outsource the math to the squirrels. All right, this is why we have a math department.
Oh, that's ridiculous. You know, some statisticians out there listening to this podcast going, no, it's 50-50.
They were in a TV commercial.
They were in a TV commercial. Do you say in or on? I guess that's semantics.
In?
What are they selling? Burger King egg witches?
Sporting equipment.
Ooh, what kind of sporting equipment?
The good kind.
Thank goodness. It'd be embarrassing to go advertise the bad kind of sporting equipment.
Yeah.
Well, like tennis rackets and baseball bats, or...
I don't know. It's stuff owned by this guy, Dick. He has good sporting equipment.
Oh, you're talking... Got it. Not the sporting dads, right? They're advertising Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good grief. Okay, so they're in this TV commercial for Dick's Sporting Goods. Why Vampire Weekend? What's the deal? Do they play sports?
Probably not. I don't know. Maybe. Who hasn't played sports at least once?
Okay, true. Are they physically in the commercial, or is their music just used?
They're physically in it.
Wow. What do they do?
Play.
Music or sports?
Yeah, music.
Right, okay.
I realized
I'm just trying to contextually, there's a couple different ways that could go.
Yeah, it's a bunch of different scenes of people playing sports, and then in the background are them like playing the music.
What song are they playing?
A-Punk.
Okay.
It was one I recognized.
Yeah, it's on this very album. It's probably their biggest song of all time.
Hey.
Right.
So it's like they're in the background while like some people are in like an indoor soccer ring, and one of them kicks a ball ball, and then there's like some kids playing basketball, and then it like one of them makes a shot, and then it cuts to the crowd cheering like woo, and in the stands are them playing, and so it's just like them in various sports settings, but not actually doing the sports.
Okay. When did this commercial air?
6 months ago.
6 months ago now?
Is that November? Did I do that math right? November 2023.
Yeah.
Specifically the 3rd is when it was published, according to this website.
Curious. That's very recent. Ooh, what else do I need to know? Who are they dating? Just figured I'd ask this time since it seemed to be really crucial to the last one.
Oh, hey.
What?
I just now realized in these scenes, all the people doing the sports, their outfits are changing as the scene goes on. Like the people playing soccer, like the outfit they're in when they first show up versus the outfit he's in when he kicks the ball, it changed. They like the clothes change on them. Which is kind of a cool effect.
Clever advertising for a store that sells athletic outerwear.
Yeah, I didn't notice the first time. I was just wondering. I was like, whoa, their clothes changed.
I got it. I thought it was going to be a little more pertinent to like the fact.
No.
Like you had some revelation or something. But no, it was just that you were being advertised to like a sucker. I think this is true. Sure, why not? I think it's a fact. Clearly, whatever just happened, you at least watched the commercial.
Yeah.
So
there's a link to it.
A link to it before you tell me the answer is never good.
Sometimes it's good. Take a look at what the URL says.
Well, it just says song by Vampire Weekend, but
I now also wish I just made up a URL. Like, that was like, this is a truefact.com.
That would have been good. Well, let's see. The commercial's starting. The song's definitely in it. There's definitely people in it. Oh, their clothes definitely changed, and I don't know how you didn't see that because it's very obvious. Unfortunately, Vampire Weekend is not in this physically yet, and it's not very long.
You haven't gone to the stadium scene yet.
It's not too late. No.
Nope, it's a spin. Commercial's real. Their song's in it, A-Punk, but they are not. I threw them in the background of an already existing commercial.
Yeah, you did.
That was a plausible way to put them in the commercial, though.
It kind of was, yeah. But I guess the trick is, do people recognize Vampire Weekend enough for that to be effective?
That's what I was a little worried about, but you didn't question it, and so I went 3-1 at least. What are the new odds that I go 3-1?
That's true. I don't want to calculate the new odds.
I think it's...
I mean, the new odds are still 50-50, right? Because either I get this right or I don't. The difference is this time, though, I need to get it right for you to go 3-1. So the pressure's on me now.
I mean, I'll take just a shutout.
Honestly, the pressure's been on me the whole time.
He has another career.
Okay, well, who is he?
Oh, sorry.
As there are 3 people currently in Vampire Weekend.
It's the main one we've been focusing on, Koenig.
Okay, Ezra, yeah. Has another career, you say?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he did start working as an English teacher, right?
Yeah.
That's a career. What is his other career? I mean, studied film. What's his other career?
Writer and producer.
Oh, clever. What has he written and produced?
Parks and Rec. No.
Oh my gosh, no.
He is currently a writer and producer for the Netflix series Neo Yokio.
What is that? I have not heard of it.
Japanese Parks and Rec. No. It is a anime show.
Okay. And how did he get involved in this?
He created it.
He created it. Mm-hmm. Ooh, that's tough. So, does the show exist now? Did you call it an upcoming show?
It exists now, yeah.
Okay, I thought you called it upcoming. Maybe I made that up.
It premiered September 22nd of 2017.
Oh, that's a big other career to work on with your Grammy-winning indie band. How much time does he have to devote to this to get like a season of an animated show made?
I don't know how much time he's dedicated to it. They also have a Christmas special.
Oh, that's nice. I thought for a minute it would be like an Ann Perkins Day special. Pretty fun. Turns out that day doesn't exist. Is he like the only writer and producer on the show? Does he have a team? Who funds this?
Well, it's funded. It was produced by Japanese anime studios Production IG and Studio Dean. The screenplay was written by Ezra Koenig, Nick Weidenfield, and Alexander Benaim.
So, well, you say screenplay. I mean, are television scripts considered screenplays? Or I feel like that's more of a movie kind of thing.
I guess they're called screenplays. That's how it's listed here.
I'm going to call baloney on it. I think this one's a spin.
What kind of bologna?
Trail bologna.
Ooh.
I have some in my fridge right now. I'm very excited to eat it.
Well, you're going to have to give it to me because this is a true fact. I just shut you out. No bologna for you.
Oh, man.
Oh, he's so sad. He's so disappointed. Oh, no. Oh,
It's a true fact?
It's a true fact, little guy.
I hate to get shut out.
Oh, poor little guy.
That's incredible. That's got to be a lot of work and time and effort for him to write and produce a TV show while he's making Grammy-winning albums.
I said I have no idea how much time he actually puts into it, but...
I mean, they did a big, long hiatus in the middle, but still, even still.
There are 6 executive producers and 3 regular producers.
So he created this out of his own brain. He thought up the idea.
Yeah, it says Neo Yokio is an American-Japanese adult animated television series created by Ezra Koenig of American rock band Vampire Weekend.
Wow.
Netflix's press release describes Neo Yokio as the greatest city in the world, a modern-day alternate timeline New York where magicians saved the city from ruin by demons in the 19th century, gaining a place in the upper echelons of society and becoming known as magistocrats. Magistocrats, there we go. Magistocrats, that's how that's probably pronounced.
That's good. That's better. I don't think there's anything you could have said or done to make me believe that, because I know that he studied film, and that'd be a likely avenue for you to pursue to find spins. And, I mean, whatever you just said was probably not going to congeal into something that I thought was true.
The 2 main characters are voiced by Jaden Smith, son of Will Smith.
That's right. He's the guy that slept over with 21 Pilots.
And Jude Law, who you probably know.
The name is familiar.
Man, I can't believe I shut you out. I really went into this being like, man, there's a good chance like I get shut out with these, you know?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the Parks and Rec ones could have gone either way.
Yeah.
The trick to it is, I decided to take a dive this week just to help you on your quest, just to, work towards 50-50 in the Year of Healing.
Yeah, that's true, because now I've gained 4.
Yeah, you're 4 closer now.
Now I only need 5 more points on you. And we 50-50.
Yeah, you're welcome, frankly. Well, we'll see you next week. Don't invite Connor into the untrue. We're not so sure about his status right now. Keep some garlic handy for the weekend. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah!
All right. Well, goodbye, Mixtaper. And hello again to you, Connor.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
I said hello to you. Welcome back. Rough week for the host team, but that's the way the cookie crumbles.
The way the podcast heals.
Yeah, it is. You know what? I guess it's fitting that I sucked on the episode about vampires. Right? It was totally intentional.
Wait, this episode's about vampires?
Yeah, and their weekends.
Oh my gosh.
What do you think a vampire would do during the weekend? It's not like they have a job that they're taking a day off from.
Well, they probably, I mean, most maybe like a fledgling new vampire has a day job, right? They haven't had time to amass their fortune. But any self-respecting, like, old vampire, right? They are, like, billionaires by now, right? Because they've been alive so long.
Probably.
They've been able to influence and gather enough wealth that, they just get to do whatever they want their entire immortal existence.
A weekend, bears little relevance to a vampire.
Vampires are day traders.
Mm-hmm.
They spend their days down on their nights down on the. I guess they couldn't be day traders, right? They'd have to go out at daytime.
No, vampires couldn't. They're night traders.
They're night traders.
Deep, insightful.
Man, we're learning so much about vampires. We should be a vampire podcast.
I mean, today we kind of are. Let's talk about the album cover of Vampire Weekend. Honestly, very vampire core. It is a Polaroid photo of a chandelier that hangs in St. Anthony Hall, which I've learned is home to a semi-secret society on Columbia's campus. Basically a fraternity.
Well, that's where he studied English literature, right? Was that Columbia?
That's where they all studied their respective studies. Yeah.
Whoa!
I know. The Polaroid was taken by Annie Reeds at one of the band's earliest gigs.
Were they part of this secret society? Was that how they got into the room?
Well, it's not really a secret society. It's a semi-secret society.
So, not so secret society.
Only trucks. Oh, no, you're right. It's not so secret.
Yeah, the fact that we're talking about it means either they're not a secret society or they're just a really bad secret society.
Well, I think it's not a secret that they exist. It's just that no one knows what goes on inside.
Whoa!
Mysterious, semi-secret.
Vampire shenanigans.
Now we know that there are vampires in there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big deal. Someone should look into that.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a leak within the organization and they need to figure out who it is.
Need to plug it. Yeah. The vampires got out of the semi-secret society.
Who let the vampires out?
Who let the bats out?
Who let the bats out? What sound do bats make?
Well, it's high-pitched because they echolocate with it, right? So
Is it? I thought bats click.
I don't think bats click. I think they squeak. It's more of
I thought they click.
More of like a bark kind of squeak.
A bark? They bark? Do you tell me bats bark? What?
Well, yeah. Not like a dog bark, but I mean, they're mammals.
Well, let's just say when I typed in do bats, one of the first searches was do bats make a clicking sound. So I'm not saying I'm right, but at least a lot of people think this.
That's true. I found that they make fluttering noises, duh, but they also make scratching and rustling noises when they use their wings, duh. But sometimes you may be able to hear bat vocalizations, which will take the form of chirping or squeaking.
Yeah. Bats produce clicks by many different mechanisms, including using their voice box, generating sounds through their nostrils, or clicking their tongues. So bats click.
Yeah, I guess bats do click.
Bats click 3 different ways.
Good for you. You did know that.
Listen, they form up into little troops of vampires. Of course they click. Bats are notorious for clicks.
It's a secret society. The whole thing is a click.
Yeah, the whole thing. Ridiculous.
It is. Well, that's enough. That's a tangent about vampire bats. Really touching all the vampire cliches this episode. Let's get into this album. Honestly, so short. I started listening to it this morning and it was over before I knew it. A lot of tracks that are 2-minute window kind of tracks on this one. The whole thing is only a half hour, give or take 4 minutes and 18 seconds.
That's several minutes that I have to either give or take. If I have to give or take it, that's an 8-minute window.
No, you'll have to give them because the album is 34 minutes and 18 seconds. If you only listen to it for 25 minutes and 42 seconds, you will not experience the whole album.
Well, if that's what it takes.
Yeah, give an extra 4 minutes. Anyway, up first, Mansard Roof. It was the band's very first official single and one of their very first music videos. They actually filmed it on a yacht, which is ironic because the song is a critique of like East Coast elitism at its core. So the imagery of a Mansard Roof and the yacht life are very intentionally done.
This first song flies by, like you said, it's fast. We hit that 1 minute 20-second mark where like I felt like I was like, oh, the song's finally gotten like past the intro and we've settled into our groove. And I looked, I'm like, oh, the song's basically over.
It's the end. Yeah.
Never mind.
What'd you think about it though, as a first knowing exposure to Vampire Weekend?
Yeah. It was good.
Fantastic.
I like the instrument choices. I like the fast pace for them. That drum is just cruising. Dun 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 dun. You know, it is.
Yeah.
It is driving.
Actually, as I was listening today, that was another thing I wanted to be sure I talked about was the drums. Just on the entire album, I think so much of what sells their sound are the complicated and fast drum parts, but also the really kind of deep, resonant, but still staccato, like keyboard and synth tones. There's a lot of weird stops and jolts and jerks, I think, on the album as a whole, which I really honestly kind of find satisfying. It's different. It doesn't progress always in the way that you would expect it to. It's not as straightforward all the time as a normal album that's like 4/4 all the way through. And it just keeps you kind of rattling and rolling about until the end of it. And I like that. It's engaging. Do you know what a Mansard Roof is?
I have extensive knowledge of Mansard Roofs.
Okay, so then you'd know that a Mansard Roof is also called a French roof.
Yeah, well, they became popular because it turned unusable attic space into a livable extra floor.
That's right, because it uses 2 different slopes. It uses a steep slope and a less steep slope to make the attic space taller. You'd know one if you saw one, I think, especially if I call it a French roof.
And you see, in France, at the time, homeowners were taxed by the number of floors in their house. So, you know, you could get an extra floor without it counting as an extra floor.
This is just the space under my roof. I don't know what to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
See, okay, so that's actually even better then. If it's a tax evasion kind of thing, that plays even more into this elitism concept and idea. It's not just people in big, rich, fancy houses. It's also people trying to, I don't know, keep their money. That adds a whole new layer. You do have extensive Googling ability. I mean, knowledge of Mansard Roofs. Pretty neat. Particularly, there are a lot of Mansard Roofs in Cape Cod, where so much of the band's storytelling and iconography is based.
Never heard of it.
You've never heard of Cape Cod?
I don't know why I find so much humor in saying I don't know about very common things and then saying I know it a lot about uncommon things. It makes me laugh every time I do it.
It's the Cape where all the cod are.
All the cod?
Not all of them.
Oh, okay. So should we call it Cape some of the cod?
Actually, I don't know if there are even any. Are there any cod at Cape Cod? Oh, actually, cod numbers are on on the rise from their all-time low in 2014.
Oh, yeah.
So good job, Cape Cod.
With Cape Cod being famous for fishermen, it's obvious that the cod would occupy a major place in it. Obvious. Sorry, Google. Sorry, I had to ask. Cod, along with its just as tasty cousin haddock, can be found aplenty off the shores of the Massachusetts coast.
Live and learn.
Hey, they're not that many. Last year, commercial fishermen only caught just, 2 million pounds of cod.
That's only 200,000 tons.
Only.
Anyway, I like Mansard Roof a lot. Ezra Koenig said the melody just popped into his head one day. He was in teacher training, right? Learning how to teach. And suddenly he just had the ideas for Mansard Roof. I love it when people have songs do that, like in a flash moment of inspiration. Honestly, I'm jealous. That's pretty cool.
Remember that you like that.
Okay.
I know of a song that'll probably come into the podcast eventually that had a really cool just come to me inspiration moment.
All right. I'll remember that I like that. I guess I won't forget what I like. The other thing I think is interesting, though, and you could kind of tell he was training to be an English teacher, they make a lot of deep cut literary and historical references and allusions that you might get, you might miss. They talk a lot about books by Salman Rushdie, and they refer to the Falkland War between the UK and Argentina, like some real deep-cut nerd stuff in Mansard Roof, which is fun. I think that's always a blast. As a deep-cut nerd myself, gotta love it.
Your nerd needs stitches. The cut's too deep.
Okay.
Don't laugh, it's a very serious matter.
Right. And as a giant nerd, honestly, I do care a little bit about the Oxford comma.
Yeah, okay. Oxford comma should just be called the comma at this point. I mean, it is...
Right.
People who don't subscribe to the Oxford comma are the worst.
People that don't subscribe to the Oxford comma are silly, foolish, and sad.
Dang. And it was sad at the end.
That list included an Oxford comma. I know you didn't hear it.
Yeah, real good example on this audio podcast of the...
Well, in my head, there was an Oxford comma there.
Do you know any of the other names for the Oxford comma?
Honestly, no, I don't. I'm not that big of a nerd. Do you?
Yeah, it was included in a trivia thing.
You have extensive knowledge.
Honestly, though, but this time, like, unironically.
Oh, okay.
It's a trivia question at a trivia night I went to once.
What do you know? Tell me. Teach me your ways. Teach me your Oxford comma ways.
It's also known as the serial comma, the series comma, the Harvard comma, and proper frickin' English comma. No, that last one was me. But
that's made up. It's not real.
But all those other ones, serial, series, and Harvard are the other three known names of the Oxford comma.
I particularly like Harvard comma because it's like we in America heard that the Brits used the Oxford comma and we said, we can't use that. We need it to be more American.
We gotta have the Harvard comma.
The Harvard comma. It's the same in every way.
I have extensive time spent here in America. And with all that I've seen and heard and learned over those many years, I 100% believe that's exactly what happened.
Honestly, I feel like you saying you spent extensive time in America is the first thing you've actually extensively done in this whole episode.
So you think. You don't know how many years I've been a vampire and where I spent them.
I don't know.
Wait, what? I'm not a vampire.
Right, I think the number of years you've been a vampire is 0, but that's neither here nor there. Oxford commas, they're important. It's track 2, if it wasn't clear. We're not just off on a tangent. It's kind of relevant. But apparently what happened here is that Ezra found a Columbia University Facebook group dedicated to preserving the Oxford comma. So he saw this Facebook group, and then a couple months later, he sat down to write a song, and he was thinking about this Facebook group, and he's like, who gives a crap? Who cares about the Oxford comma?
I care.
He said that's really what the song is about, not giving a crap, right? The song is about being carefree. It's not literally about the comma. It's a metaphor. And honestly, we kind of just undermine the whole thing by saying the Oxford comma was so important. Who gives a crap about it?
Maybe we need to listen to his advice.
We do, yeah.
Don't let the small things, like a comma, take up so much of your mind space. You only got so much space in your mind.
That's true. Ezra says, I have a complicated relationship with grammar. I mean, whatever that means. But he says, I spent a year teaching 8th grade English in Brooklyn, and when you spend so much time trying to get kids to write in standard American English, you're bound to start questioning the importance. And honestly, that makes a lot of sense. He also said, I'd kind of consider this, Oxford comma, the first Vampire Weekend song. I was at my parents' house in New Jersey, probably home for a weekend while I was at college, and I started writing this song on the piano and made a little demo, and I was like, oh, that's pretty good. Oxford comma is, I mean, first of all, one of the main things that inspired me to pivot to this album instead of Contra for the episode because I couldn't get it out of my head. But it also charted in the UK at number 38, making it their highest charting single. But later, it actually earned even more praise with hindsight. And Oxford Comma is the song that was featured in the season 5 premiere of How I Met Your Mother. That's the episode where Ted teaches in the wrong classroom on accident.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is, I know. And it honestly makes me want to go rewatch it and hear the song and be like, I know that song. What do you think? Is Oxford Comma better or worse than Mansard Roof? Are we trending upwards, trending downwards, or staying the same? Another list that I've punctuated in my head with an Oxford Comma.
I like this song.
Oh, good. But like better or worse than Mansard Roof?
Better.
Okay, I think so too.
I really like the vocals on this one.
Me too. Oxford Comma is a lot of fun. It's a sing-alongable kind of song in a way that Mansard Roof is not. Also fun, they mention Lil Jon in the lyrics, which actually spurred a friendship between them.
Oh.
Lil Jon sent them some of his crunk energy drink, and eventually he even appeared in the music video for their song Giving Up the Gun. So who knew? They're friends with Lil Jon. The music video for Oxford Comma, though, does not yet feature Lil Jon, and it was shot in one take. They were inspired by Wes Anderson. And one last trivia fact to punctuate the discussion about Oxford Comma. Koenig says, I don't know if we'll ever drop another punctuation jam, but I like the Spanish question mark.
Oh.
You know, the upside down one. So maybe we'll get an upside down question mark song someday. Here's hoping. I think that'd be awesome.
It would be pretty awesome.
I know, right? But anyway, that's Oxford Comma. Up next is the band's probably most popular song ever, and definitely the most popular amongst Dick's Sporting Goods ad consumers, A-Punk. It is currently sitting just below 500 million streams on Spotify, which is pretty remarkable. It's the album's second single, and it was the subject of their TV debut on Letterman back in 2008. People, even still today, consider A-Punk among the best of the best Vampire Weekend songs. And in 2011, NME named it the 62nd best track of the past 15 years. It never did make it to the Hot 100, but it went to number 6 on the Bubbling Under Hot 100 chart and number 25 on the Hot Modern Rock Tracks chart. And it's also one of their best sellers. In 2019, A-Punk went platinum, and it became their very first RIAA certified track, which is awesome. What do you think about A-Punk? Are we still on the rise?
Yeah, I like A-Punk more than Oxford Comma, so on the rise.
Heck yeah. Honestly, you know what I'm about to say. It's twofold. Honestly, love the drums. Like I said, so many spots in this album. The drums are the critical support pillar of it. But also, I really love that guitar part. It's what makes the song. It's clean, it's sharp, it's plucky. It's great.
Yeah, Dick's Sporting Good used it in a commercial.
Yeah, right. I know. They don't put bad songs in the Dick's Sporting Good commercials.
And I mean, just from that opening, I mean, you're like, yeah.
You're riding the wave. Yeah, I like it a lot. A-Punk, of course, is one of their songs that was featured in a lot of stuff. Lego Rock Band Just Dance, a few Guitar Hero games. Notably, the movie Step Brothers. Ezra Koenig said, in many ways, A-Punk is the best known Vampire Weekend song. It's an interesting one because for some people, it's the only song they know. Probably most fans' top 5 favorite songs. But it's a very important song for us. When I think about this song, I still think about the fact that it was in the movie Step Brothers because that introduced a lot of people to Vampire Weekend, and it was the first time we said yes to having one of our songs in a movie. And I'm very thankful that it worked out so well because I love that movie, and I'm very proud that A-Punk is the opening song. Rightfully so. I haven't seen Step Brothers. I probably should watch it. Have you seen Step Brothers?
Yeah, of course.
That's what I thought. The music video for A-Punk uses stop motion. Fun fact. Gotta love a little stop motion. I also found a very fun tweet from Ezra where he said, my cousin said she was gonna play your song at her wedding. I thought she meant A-Punk or something, but it was Elton John. And that really made me laugh. That was very funny. Ezra also has one of the best Twitter handles he could possibly have. It is simply his name backwards.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's A-Punk. 2 minutes and 17 seconds. Such a short song.
Really?
The best songs that they kind of have on this album, I mean, at least my personal favorites, are the really short ones. And it kind of sucks because I kind of want more. But also, the bite-sizedness of them is kind of what makes this whole album really, kick. I don't know if they have much shelf life beyond what they already give us. And the drummer's arms might fall off. Up next, let's talk about Cape Cod. Kwassa.
We're back in the Cape.
We're back in the Cape. I know you've heard about Cape Cod. I know you have extensive experience with Cape Cod. What do you know about Kwassa?
What don't I know about Kwassa? To bring up my catchphrase, apparently.
Yeah. You probably know that Kwassa is a special kind of dance rhythm that originated in the Congo. A little more Afrobeat-inspired influence.
It also means I'm working.
Is that how it literally translates?
Yeah.
Listen to that extensive knowledge.
It comes from the Kikongo language. It means I'm working. Cape Cod, I'm working.
Nice.
On catching those 2 million pounds of fish.
That's right. Yeah, all those tons of cod. Actually, Ezra took a trip abroad that inspired him to think, as he says, a lot about colonialism and the aesthetic conditions between preppy culture and the native cultures of places like Africa and India. So he put all those thoughts into a short story and then adapted that short story into this song. And I think it's such a really interesting track because it's such a roll and tumble of lyrics and imagery. I feel like listening to a Vampire Weekend song, at least on this album, it's like trying to follow a specific piece of clothing as it goes through a dryer cycle, right? It's tumbling all around. You're trying to keep your attention on it. And all of a sudden, I mean, you're following through with your mother on a sandy lawn as a sophomore with the reggaeton and the linens. You know what I mean? You're rolling around with it through these ska-influenced world music Afro beats and this plucky guitar, and it just feels like you're tumbling along with it. I like it a lot, but it's very different. I think Cape Cod Kwassa might be musically one of the most interesting songs on the album.
It's so interesting.
There's like a weird kind of stutter step to the end of it. Feels so unnatural. Peter Gabriel, too. It just kind of does this hiccup that I really like. It's a blast. And I love his voice. Honestly, this song has a lot of falsetto moments where he can just get up into the stratosphere, and I think that's really fun. You know I do.
Another one that has like instruments I've just found myself listening to more than the actual lyrics. M79.
100%. And you gotta admit, I talked to the Mixtaper about this, you gotta admit M79 sounds like something you would listen to and infer the Parks and Rec theme song from, right?
Yeah.
That harpsichord kind of orchestral string arrangement that's going on, it sounds Parks and Rec-esque.
Yep.
But it is really engaging to listen to. M79 is the name of a specific bus route in Manhattan that runs from Riverside Drive to East End Avenue. And they kind of talk about that directly in the song. Backseat on the 79. He's on the bus. Honestly, this song sounds so, I don't know, fancy. Does that make sense? The string arrangements and stuff kind of make it sound like new age regal, but it's about a bus ride across New York City. Kind of a disconnect mentally between the sound and the imagery and the lyrics.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, that's M79. Honestly, the album flies by so quick. I feel like to listen to the album this far in, you've like blinked.
Yeah, you really have. It goes very fast.
And then we get to Campus. You know, actually, I've been on the campus of Columbia University.
Really?
Yeah, it honestly is a little bit kind of the worst because they like it's one of those campuses where you can't touch the grass. Like they put up fences and don't let you step on grass, which is, I mean, kind of silly, but sure. Anyway, it's a cool campus, beautiful, historic. Campus, the song, though, was mostly written by Rostam Batmanglij, but was inspired by Koenig's senior thesis. Actually, his senior thesis was the very same short story collection that brought about Cape Cod Kwassa. Yeah. I actually like Campus a lot better, I think, than M79. M79 was kind of the first dip in the album for me, a little bit. Campus brings it back up. Not instrumentally, maybe, because, I mean, the orchestra harpsichord combo is so cool. But I really love the chorus of Campus. The way that it kind of hits, and then he gets to sing, and then it hits, and he sings, and he hits, and it's, like, very rhythmic, very punchy.
I still found myself more interested in the instruments on Campus than the lyrics.
Same. I mean, that's the case with this whole album, and even more so for me on Contra. I don't think of Vampire Weekend as a band I'm coming to for a lyrical song. They're a band I'm coming to for a vibe, and I'm getting that vibe mostly from the instrumentals and the way that it's produced.
Dude, yeah, their vibe is through the roof.
Immaculate. Untouchable. I mean, really. But it's definitely, I mean, the lyrics feel like they take a back seat. Maybe not necessarily in the song's construction, like I'm sure they thought a lot about the lyrics and put good effort into them, but just in the end product of the song, it's not a lyrical song for me. I mean, none of these, mostly. Oxford Comma is, I Stand Corrected is, I think. The Kids Don't Stand a Chance, you know what I mean? But the rest of them, not so much. but it does sound really satisfying to sleep on the balcony after class. That sounds beautiful. I want to do that right now. I want to go sleep outside. Sign me up. Honestly, after campus, I mean, I feel like we've hit the album's high watermark a while ago. I think the rest is us headed down the drain a little bit.
I don't know about that quite yet. I really enjoy the energy of Bryn.
Yeah, I mean,
you started like that just had me. It made me want to do a jig.
A jig?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, sure. I think Bryn is one of the most different sounding songs on this album. Just melodically. I think the way that they've constructed Bryn is really interesting.
Yeah.
And that might be because it's another one of their oldest tracks, one of their first. It dates back to their freshman year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's about fashion designer Bryn Lander. She and Ezra are friends. Apparently, Ezra Koenig knows everybody. This is another song that talks about vampires. Vampires that sleep in my heart. It's like they were gearing up to be Vampire Weekend all along.
It's because that's secret society.
Right. Semi-secret.
It's not so secret.
Yeah. There's so few lyrics in this song.
Yeah.
Kind of just two giant verses. And I don't mind them.
But I was interested. I found myself more interested in the words on this one than a lot of the other songs.
That's because the music is so different. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Eyes Like a Seagull is interesting. I've never really paid too much attention to the eyes of a seagull.
I have extensive knowledge of the eyes of a seagull.
Of seagull eyes. Yeah. Oh, man. I like Bryn a lot. One song that I think is kind of goofy, but I also like it a lot is, I mean, technically it's called One. But how can you listen to this song and call it One and not its parenthetical title,
Blake's Got a New Face?
Blake's Got a New Face?
This whole album just makes you want to bop around.
Yeah.
But One and Bryn both just extra boppy.
Super boppy. I think the song kind of kills me. Just the call and response vocals on the chorus.
Yeah.
I don't know what that... It just... It's so funny. Just, I don't know.
Blake's.
Like, he sings Blake's Got a New Face. It's like he intentionally tries to push it.
Yeah, he's like, Blake's. Like, all loud punctual. Blake's got a new face. And then he's, Blake's got a new face. It's just like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's hilarious.
And then like you get to the end of that call and response and the instruments just go it's like, what is happening?
It's fun. It's one of the most memorable songs on the album, whether I really truly like it or just think it's fun and silly. I definitely remember it, and it strikes me every time I get to it. If I'm in a bit of a haze when I reach this point on the album, snaps me out of it with whiplash. And I think we don't really know for sure whether Blake is a real person that they know or a reference to the poet William Blake. Some of the lyrics in here kind of point to it being a person that they know. Spent a week in Old San Juan. Maybe Blake took a vacation and got tan. Or maybe William Blake, the romantic poet, has to be read and understood in a different light now due to times changing.
Who's to say?
Not clear. With an English major, you never know. But actually, I mean, this is one of the songs where I like the lyrics a lot more. They throw in all these critiques of colonialism. They say, English breakfast tea that tastes like Darjeeling. Feels like a subtle little jab. It's really interesting. And the other tie that I thought was interesting, too.
The bow?
I mean, at the very, very end of the song, they throw in absolute horror, which just sounds like such a non sequitur to the rest of the entire song. But I think, honestly, putting absolute horror there kind of, in my mind, probably not in their mind or anyone's mind, but in my mind, it kind of ties this song, this One, to Metallica's song One.
Oh.
About a soldier incapacitated by a grenade.
Yeah, that's probably only you.
Maybe, but that kind of puts the whole new face thing in a more gruesome light.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So who knows, right? Who's to say if that's intentional or not? The song's called One, and there's really apparently no reason for it.
No reason.
I just call it Blake's Got a New Face.
Up next is Walcott.
Very well done. Up next is not Walcott.
Oh. I stand corrected.
Up next is I Stand Corrected. That is nice.
Thank you.
I don't have too much to say about I Stand Corrected.
I like the way it started versus how it ended up.
It does start kind of dark and brooding, doesn't it?
Yeah, but then it like gets this like hopeful vibe to it. The instruments.
The drummer gets a chance to relax.
Yeah.
He gets to stop drumming for 2 seconds. I actually really like the way that the vocals are more drawn out and extended. It's not as fast-paced as the rest of the album right off the bat. And the vocals never get there. They give themselves some space to breathe. It's nice.
It's nice.
Also, some of the instrumentals in here kind of sound like they're backwards. And that's a really interesting production choice that I like.
What do you mean?
Just like, it almost sounds like a ringing kind of sound. Like a keyboard.
Huh.
You can hear it very clearly in that first chorus. It sounds like they've reversed that audio.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting, and I like it. It fits very well with the vibe that they've curated so far. Did you hear a string instrument in there? Some kind of cello? There's just a lot of little moving pieces to like in I Stand Corrected. For being such a short and kind of simple song, they do a really good job at coloring it in an exciting and engaging way. But up next, would you care to do the honors? I mean, you already did it once. You could just be right this time.
This is the last song. I Stand Corrected. We're done.
I don't... What are you doing? No.
Well, I'm taking my 4 minutes and 18 seconds off my 30 minutes, so we're done.
Oh no,
I'm done. I'm out of here.
No, you can't take the 4 minutes.
You said give or take, and I chose take, so you're on your own for the last 2 tracks.
No, you gotta give. You gotta give. Walcott's up next. Got 2 tracks left.
Technically, part way into I Stand Corrected would have been the end, but
it would have. Yeah, ridiculous. I didn't expect that joke to come back. I'd honestly forgotten about it. Well, Walcott, really though, is track number 10. And it's up next. And it's the most popular song on this back half of the album, if Campus doesn't count on the back half.
They will not stop mentioning Cape Cod.
They won't. Well, again, though, the whole album's kind of inspired by the story that Ezra wrote called Vampire Weekend about a guy who has to warn everyone about vampires coming to Cape Cod. That guy's name, of course, is Walcott.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Blake. I was like, that guy got a new face.
It's not Blake. No, Blake did get a new face.
Maybe because a vampire bit it off.
Oh, smart-ish. Maybe. We'll never know. But Walcott is the guy that has to warn the mayor that the vampires are coming.
This one surprised me with the ending.
Really?
It built up to that big build and then just stopped. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, it does. It's kind of fun. I really love the piano on this one. It sounds, I don't know, saloonish. Something about it just is very satisfying. And drums, going hard on the cymbals on this one. Love that. It's a blast. Apparently, Walcott, the character, is named after another poet, Derek Walcott, who was born in 1930 in St. Lucia. The piano is the best part of this song. I like the diversity of instruments on Walcott. It starts with the piano. We get a verse of strings that's really sparse and like kind of drum-free. Love that. And then we kind of bring it back into that big build, and then we die hard at the end. Love it. And I also love some of the lyrics here, too. The lobster's claw is sharp as knives. Evil feasts on human lives. Come on. That's Vampires in Cape Cod if ever I've heard it.
I agree.
But we got to get out of Cape Cod tonight. And lucky for us, I believe this is the last time they do mention Cape Cod. The last song on the album leaves us with a very bleak outlook. It's The Kids Don't Stand a Chance. It's all about capitalism and the future that it kind of leaves to the kids. It includes lyrics like, you criticize the practice by murdering their plants, ignoring all the history, denying them romance. Not very sunshine and happy days.
Honestly, this album's been a joyous ride, start to finish.
Really? I mean, that's good to hear. It's a joyous ride of, like, sound. It's a sonic kaleidoscope full of sad themes.
Correct.
But honestly, The Kids Don't Stand a Chance is another key element of the musical kaleidoscope. I love the music on it. It's so sing-alongable. The Kids Don't Stand a Chance is such a good hook. I also really like the line, the pillow feels so soft now, but still you must advance. Again, really just emphasizing, I wish I could stop, but the grind continues. Life goes on. The kids don't stand a chance.
Mm-hmm.
This is just our lot in life. Interesting for a band on their debut album to already feel that way. That's tough. But still they grind, and sometimes grind even successful Grammy-winning bands and TV shows at the same time. At least a little birdie once told me that. Anyway, let's wrap up this joyous ride start to finish and do some final spin. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Let's get to the end of Vampire Weekend. Anyway, scores. I feel like I haven't said a lot about this album, but I kind of feel like I've said all I have to say about it. You know what I mean? I think it's the kind of album you just are going to have to listen to and experience firsthand. Talking about Vampire Weekend is never going to be satisfactory, I think. So for my scores, music's getting an 84. I think a lot of the music is really fun. Some of the melodies take kind of a backseat. The real trick is the instrumentation, which we'll get to in a second. But lyrically, giving it an 82. I like a lot of their lyrics. I like the quick flashes of imagery that they give you, kind of the incoherent cohesiveness of them. It's like a collage of words and thoughts and images pasted together and shoved at you in a way that doesn't feel too in your face, but it's all right. It does sound like an album written by a bunch of guys right out of college, thematically. And that's not a dig. It just does. It's what it sounds like because that's what it is. Instruments and production, definitely the brightest spot on this album for me. Giving it an 86. Really engaging, really fun. Quick listen. It's a breeze. Overall vibe, 83. I think it's solid. Like I said, if I want to listen to Vampire Weekend, I'm coming here for the vibes and for the music and the feel of it, not for the lyrics or the themes or the messages. That's just not why I personally have listened to this band. So, overall, it scores an 84.4, landing it at number 349 on my ranking list.
Nice.
Yeah. And to be frank, another reason that I'm happy I picked it over Contra is, I do like it personally better. I think it's better for you in terms of their style, sound, and progression at this point. And Contra scored an 81. It's down at like number 498, almost 500. And this one's top 350. So that's a pretty big gap.
Yeah.
I think Vampire Weekend just ended up being the better album for me, even though it's not the one that went to number 1. It's pretty clear why this is the one with the legacy. But how about you? You seem to enjoy this album. You wanted to do a jig to it. So
Sure did.
I'm curious how that translates to scores.
It translates, I'm not going to bear the lead, it translates to 9 minutes taken out of 10.
Wow. Oh, wow. Actually, I'm kind of surprised.
I'm not. I quite enjoyed the vibe of this album a ton. I'll be honest, this whole album, as a whole, is kind of going to go on my short list of things when I'm like, I've talked about before that albums would make good like background music albums. This does that, but like in a different way than all those other ones I've mentioned. Like this one is good. Like not so much background music, but like working music. Like I would put this on while I'm just cooking in my kitchen or like cleaning around my apartment, right?
Yeah.
To put me in a good vibe, a happy vibe while I'm doing a boring task. I'm gonna be sitting there bopping, doing a little jig while I'm cooking or cleaning and just having a good old time.
Yeah, it is a good vibe album sonically.
Yeah, because it puts more emphasis on the music than the lyrics as well. That really helps with that. So yeah, I like this quite a bit. In fact, I liked it so much in my 9s, it is going right below Hotel California by the Eagles.
Right below Hotel California. Interesting.
Right there above the Country Club.
Yeah, and above Duke Ellington and a few others. So, we talked about this as one of the best debut albums of all time. Supposedly, people and critics alike have said that it's one of the best debut albums of all time. It kind of looks like you agree with that.
Apparently, yeah. How many debut albums are above it on the list of ones we've done so far?
You've put the band Camino above it, and that's it.
Hey, it's definitely my top 100 debut albums.
Sure, yeah, definitely is. I don't think I could say the same, but I'm not 100% sure. At number 350, it's probably close.
Yeah, so that's where it's going for me. My top 3 in album order. Oxford Comma.
Who gives a crap?
A-Punk.
Nice.
Cape Cod Kwassa.
3 in a row.
And honorable mention going to the sneak pick, Bryn.
Oh, that is a sneaky pick.
I really enjoyed that. Yeah, the jig.
Interesting. The jig is up.
Yeah.
Wow. I would not have picked that second least popular song on the album in, give me 10 picks and it might be my 11th. So,
dang.
Maybe. So which of those 4, or you could go outside of your top 3, but I don't know if you ever really have.
I never have.
Which of those 4 is going to end up on the playlist?
I don't know. What are you thinking? I feel like since I seem to like this album more than you should go first.
Honestly, a fun experiment for me. I want Oxford Comma.
Okay.
That's my playlist pick. They're important, and I like the irony of the song telling us that they're not important. Plus, it's so fun. Like I said, it's the one that gets stuck in my head and kind of pulled me to this album over Contra.
While I think I like the catchiness of the instruments of Cape Cod Kwassa and Bryn better than A-Punk, I think A-Punk is the better song to put on the playlist. I'm going to go with A-Punk.
Okay. I was kind of hoping you'd go Cape Cod Kwassa.
Yeah, I thought about it, but it doesn't get as high energy as A-Punk. It stays a little more mellow.
That's very true.
It's more on the easy listening side, whereas A-Punk's got that adrenaline. I can see this one being fun to listen to, like driving, taking a road trip in the car and putting on the playlist, and then A-Punk comes on.
Yeah, it's a vibe. I like it. This is honestly I'll be honest, exactly what I kind of was hoping for with the Vampire Weekend episode. I wanted to learn more about how you'd respond.
No, it's not. You wanted to throw me in the deep end. You already admitted to that.
Well, yeah, but I didn't. I wanted to throw you in the deep end because I wanted to see if you would sink or swim with it.
I'm a shark. I'm always swimming. Otherwise, I drown.
Always going forward. But I wasn't sure if you were going to really like it and be responsive and receptive to it, or if it was going to just be a turn-off like, man, this album is tedious. But it turns out this was a real winner. This was an important discovery. This is a milestone.
Winner, winner, vampire dinner. That's blood.
Well, you wouldn't eat a vampire dinner.
Well,
that'd be silly.
I mean, listen, if I was like in a vampire's home and didn't want to offend him and like turn my nose up at their customs, I would at least take a couple samples, like, oh yeah, very nice, and then like feed it to the vampire dog when they weren't looking.
I think you'd be a vampire dinner before you'd eat a vampire dinner.
I have diplomatic immunity in the vampire
Diplomatic immunity.
Oh, that's good.
Anyway, if you're looking for more Spin It, well, you can find us in the rest of this podcast feed, but you can also find us wherever you're on social media, at Spin It Pod Official on Instagram, at Spin It Pod on Twitter, X, all the places, and of course, on the web at www.spinitpod.com. Tell a friend who's definitely not a vampire about the podcast. You can tell them on the weekend or on the weekdays.
Or tell a friend you suspect of being a vampire.
Oh, yeah. Tell a friend who's not a vampire or that you think might be. Don't tell them which one you think that they are.
Yeah, that way you're safe and they don't feel like they have to take you out.
You, are free from suspicion. And tune in next week to hear Connor say silly things like this.
I'm saying more things. Saying things right now.
Wasn't that silly? We'll see you next week for good old 152. Hey, where we lead, you'll follow. And until then,
keep spinning. Got a new bed I'm really enjoying.
Got a new bed? What do you mean got a new bed?
Yeah, it's a new bed. I'm really digging it. It's got like these high wall sides so you can't like actually roll out of bed.
Yeah.
And you know, because sometimes I stay up too late and like to sleep in to catch up on my sleep, but I get woken up by the sun coming in through like my blinds right through the curtain.
The sun wakes you up?
Yeah. So, you know, it's got like a light blocker to help make it like a dark room. You like blackout curtains, but for the bed.
It's almost like a lid?
Yeah, kind of.
Like a cover that sits over the sides so you don't roll out and so the sun doesn't get in?
Yeah, to block out the sun. Yeah.
Do you breathe okay in there? Because to me it sounds a little bit like you'd be coughing.
I mean, I sleep like the dead in that thing.
And you said you have how much experience with vampires again?
Extensive.